Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Mondays with Maishi. Tonight it is November 13th. It's just after 9 o'clock here, Eastern Standard Time, which hardly exists anymore now that the Eastern Daylight Savings Time has predominated our months. But it is Eastern Standard Time for the next few months, so welcome and thanks for joining. Want to say hello to Raffi Bilek. Baltimore from Baltimore. And tonight's going to be a little bit off our typical usual clinical topic, and we're going to go and learn something that's really important for those of us doing clinical work. It's not about clinical therapy. It's not going to teach you how to be a better psychotherapist, but it's going to teach you a little bit about how to comply as a psychotherapist and keep to the rules, regulations, laws. But really, the main goal of tonight's discussion is how to make note-keeping as easy as possible if you're not using an EHR, an electronic health system that documents your notes and has everything pre-populated that you're paying who knows what per month. This is a way that we can do intake forms and presumably keep notes and progress notes and session notes and whatnot in a very, very simple format that, we see that Google and Microsoft and all other companies seem to have been taking over the world with artificial intelligence and stock quotes and whatever it is that you need, weather and news, that if you have Google, you pretty much can stay in bed for the rest of your life and they'll take care of everything for you. So if that's true, then they probably can take care of helping you with your client sessions as well. In fact, maybe they can even do the sessions for you. Right in the comfort of your own bed. Right now that they have these Zoom backgrounds, you can actually lay in bed, turn on one of your office backgrounds. I think I have one actually right here. Let's see. Choose my virtual background, and voila, we are in another office. Quality 5 minutes. How do you like that? So, without further ado, let me introduce you to Raffi Bilek from Baltimore, Maryland, who has come up with a system in helping with intake process, progress notes, and I'm very excited to learn this because he is doing this all using good old Google. Raffi, thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking of your time to teach us some of your little ins and outs and technological tricks. Just tell us a little bit who you are, where you practice, what you do, and how you got here. How you figure this all out. Oh, we don't hear you though.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
Okay, here we go. Hi, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here all the way from Baltimore, coming all the way to, Baltimore. I just haven't moved anywhere. So about myself, I am the director of the Baltimore Therapy Center. That is the private practice I run. And it's kind of just grown. It used to be me, and then I got a little too busy, so I took someone else on. And that's just kind of how I've grown. I was like, oh, I guess I need somebody else. I've got maybe 5 people working with me now. I really never intended to be a practice owner or a group owner or a business owner. It just kind of happened. And similar is kind of how I've done my tech stuff is, partially it's because I'm lazy and partially because I'm cheap. And so I never really got into the whole EHR thing. First there was Simple Practice and Theranos, and by now there's like several dozen different EHRs, and a lot of folks out there I see, which one should I use, and they try this one. There's a lot of research, and I can imagine there's a huge headache, and I've done some of that, but I've always just, I started with just having Google email, workspace email. Back then it was called G Suite, where you get to have your own email address and it's HIPAA compliant. I'm a little bit of a HIPAA nerd, and that's because in addition to being cheap and lazy, I'm also anxious, and I just can't stomach the idea of getting in trouble. That's
a lot of self-disclosure for one night. Cheap, anxious, and lazy.
Right. Yeah. So if anybody does anxiety disorders out there, we could talk. I don't know if there's something that fixes cheap. And lazy, frankly, I don't want to change that. So let's just stick with it as it is. So I use Google and Google Drive, and over time I've refined the system. I started up a website eventually, which we'll be talking about more, I guess, where I just sort of show people how you could actually do all this stuff for $6 a month and you don't need to be paying whatever it is that Simple Practice is charging these days. You know, for one person, maybe not such a big deal. If you have a couple people, it certainly becomes a big deal quickly. And also, if you're starting up and you have a small practice and you don't have $100 a month just to be shooting out there, so it works nicely. And there's a lot you can do with it. And so I guess it's a little bit what we'll talk about today. I'm not going to talk so much about my clinical stuff, like we said. I do mostly couples counseling, and I could talk about that all day long. But we're going to talk about some of the technical stuff, which I think definitely is helpful to a lot of people in our field who, have to really just want to see clients and don't want to dig through all the tech stuff.
So Raffi, let me ask you something about G Suite. So once upon a time, there was Google, and then some stuff started popping up called G Suite. And then we started hearing things about HIPAA compliance. It went from being a free Google account to $6 a month for G Suite, whatever. Can you tell us, what does G Suite mean? What is it? What are we paying $6 for to have featured? And what does it have to do with HIPAA compliance?
Okay, that's all right. And I can cover that in 36 seconds. Here we go. G Suite is the old name for what is now called Google Workspace, which means the suite of apps that Google gives you. So with free Google, you have a lot of stuff. Google Drive, Google Calendar, Google this, Google that, Google Eat My Breakfast, all the Google stuff that you get, which is lovely and functional. When you pay for it, you get a few things. Number one, you get some more functionality in certain areas, most of which, frankly, is not really all that relevant to your average user. The other important thing you get is you get Google to sign with you a business associate agreement, which is a HIPAA contract, which says they'll take care of your private data. And without that, you really cannot use Google stuff. So if you are using moshenorman@gmail.com for emailing clients, that's technically in violation of HIPAA. I'm certainly not here to judge anybody or tell anyone how to do things, but it is. And for $6 a month, you can get out of that problem. And I advocate that people do that, because why not follow the law when you can for $6 a month?
So when you get Google Workspace, formerly known as Google Suite, does that mean that you've automatically signed a business associates agreement with Google?
This is a great question. No, you have to go through a couple of steps to sign the business associate agreement, which is not hard. It's hard to find, but it's not hard to do. It's just checking a few boxes. You're supposed to read a lot of stuff, but you don't, because none of us do. We just sign our lives away, and that's fine.
And is this going to be something you show us tonight, how to make sure that that's taken care of? Because I know I have a Google Workspace account. I don't know what half the features are and what they mean, but I know I do have one. And how would I know? Are you going to show us, how to make sure that it's?
I probably won't show you how to get to the business associate agreement, because it's just a little thorny getting through all the different spaces. But there is a video on my website that shows exactly where to go and how to walk through it. And we'll definitely get there, and everyone's welcome to look at that.
Please, just give us the name of your website. I'll put it into the
Yes,
chat.
the website is workspaceehr.com. And we'll definitely be taking a look at that website shortly. I'm not going to go through all of it. There's some useful information for anybody who wants to see how they can use Google to their advantage in a HIPAA compliant way, in an affordable way that covers pretty much all your EHR needs. So we're going to go through that. I do want to make a caveat that Google does not bill insurance for you. One of the nice advantages of Simple Practice, etc., is you can do usually one-click billing, and it takes care of that, and that's very lovely and nice. And if it's worth it to you to pay the extra money to have that feature, totally understood. I do not take insurance, and so I don't need that feature, and so I'm very happy not to be paying them extra money for things I don't need.
Excellent. So in other words, somebody who's billing insurance and is using a what are they called? The in-between place, clearinghouse. They're using a clearinghouse will need to, potentially, unless you're doing handwritten HCFAs, 1500 forms or HCFAs, you're going to need to use a practice that connects directly with a clearinghouse, such as Therapy Notes, Simple Practice, and one of those many others.
Right.
Because what happens is that when you verify that you actually had a session and you put in the progress notes, or in some cases they will allow you to just click that you have a progress note saved somewhere else. You can then click on complete the note or whatever the feature is on that particular EHR, and it will directly bill the insurance, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not intimately familiar with all the features of the different EHRs, but in many cases, there's one-click billing, which is for sure a helpful thing. That you can also do it manually through a clearinghouse like Office Ally, and there's another one I forget the name off the top of my head. You can use a medical biller, and in all those cases, you probably come out financially on top. But for sure, if you're trying to bill insurance and you can do it in one-click thing, that could be worth the convenience. It just depends on your setup.
Excellent. I just want to request for those of you who haven't been here before, I see some new faces tonight, and I appreciate everybody joining and hope you'll benefit from this. For those of you who can turn on your videos, we always like to see faces and get some facial feedback. So if it's possible, of course, we understand it's late at night for many of you, or you're who knows where. But for those of you who can turn on your videos, please do, so we can see you and it becomes more personal. Also, I see some of Menachem in the chat box wrote that Alma is great for private practice therapists who are billing insurance. For those of you who don't know how Alma works, it's actually it's sort of like a referral place, and they pretty much do all the work for you. All you have to do is put in the notes, keep a calendar, click on it, and it's the same with Headway. I personally have a number of clients through Headway, which is again just the competitor of Alma, and they do a very, very comprehensive and simple job in helping you with note keeping. They actually have good, nice formats for notes that you can type in the notes if you're billing insurance. Okay, Raffi, go ahead. Take it away.
Where are we taking it from? Remind me. Let's see. We left off at.
So we have the Google Workspace. Okay.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, do you want me to go through the system a little bit now?
Yeah. So we have Google Workspace. We now signed a
right.
HIPAA, what is it called? Business Associate
right.
agreement. So now we're connected with them and they can hold our information and we are HIPAA compliant with them. Does that mean that any email that's sent out through Gmail, through that Gmail account is now protected in some way?
Gosh, you're asking a complicated. Do you know that you're asking a complex question? Was that
We can skip over that if
it's not. The short answer is no, not exactly. It does. This question gets quite into the weeds. Let me see if I can give a brief overview. There's a whole blog post on this question about it. The emails that are stored in Gmail are protected, encrypted, and compliant. When you are sending emails outside of your Gmail system, they are not necessarily encrypted. And therefore, in order to have real full HIPAA compliance, there's an add-on you'd want to put on there. I'm going to back out of that. Maybe at the end of this time for questions and stuff, we'll go there. It's pretty complicated and technical and irritating. But there's an extensive blog post on my site, Workspace EHR, which goes through it so people can make their own decisions about how to handle that email question.
So I think what you're saying is that when you send an email out, it's protected, but when it's going into someone else's inbox, then it's not protected. Is that what you're saying?
As soon as you send the email outside of Gmail, meaning as soon as I click send to send it to you, there is no guarantee that it's going to be encrypted, and HIPAA basically requires encryption. Again, that's a very sort of high level version of what's going on there, but because it does not guarantee encryption after you click send, there are some who say that is not enough compliance. I use something called LuxSci, which is another $6 a month per user, and that solves that problem. And it encrypts it in transit. And so for me, it's worth it to pay another $6 a month for the extra HIPAA compliance. You don't really, strictly speaking, you can probably get away without it. And if a client says, I'd like you to email me knowing that it is unencrypted, that's totally fine. Complying with HIPAA is not necessarily the easiest part of this job. And I do have a short HIPAA webinar, like a beginner's HIPAA webinar. That's not on that site. That's on my private practice site, BaltimoreTherapyCenter.com. You could toss that in the chat if you want. And there's a page about webinars, there's a page about working with me. And so there's a short intro to HIPAA. We can certainly go more into that. I just thought, I'm not sure if that was sort of where we wanted to go with this time. Like I can talk about.
We'll see if we have time at the end. We can go back to HIPAA.
Yeah.
Did you
absolutely.
say BaltimoreTherapy.com?
BaltimoreTherapyCenter.com. There's a whole section for professionals there. There's some webinars. There's a webinar on Google Workspace that we're talking about now. There's a webinar on HIPAA, 1 hour intro, and some other useful things that I like to do.
Okay. So now why don't you walk us through a little bit of how this system can work and how one who wants to create an intake system and a note system can do that.
Sure. Okay, let me share my screen here. The screen, this is the whole this thing. Okay. Can we all see the new client form here?
Yes.
Yeah, you can see Marcia? We can see it? Thumbs
Yes,
up?
we see it. We see it.
Okay, fine, very good. So I'm gonna fill this out for you, Moshe. You are gonna be my first client. So you see on Workspace EHR, here's my demo new client. You're gonna have a new client form like this. This is a Google form. It comes with your Google account, and if you've paid for the Workspace version, then this is a HIPAA compliant form. Again, if you haven't paid for it, then what goes through this form is basically being seen by Google, and so it's not the client information is not protected.
So is this a Google document, or is
this is a Google form?
form?
Google Forms is just another part of Google, and it just you can make your own forms like this. The advantage is they're easy, they're HIPAA compliant, they don't cost anything extra. The disadvantage is they're not so pretty. It's hard to make them look much prettier than this, but they're functional, so that's good. So here we go, Moshe. You are my first client. Moshe, stop it.
It's okay.
Stop it, Moshe. Norman. Mobile phone is going to be 2222 or 3s. Okay, great.
That is my phone number.
Oh, that's great. I just guessed it. I didn't even know. Was it Moshe Norman something?
M Norman LCSW at Gmail.
Okay, session date. Let's say it's going to be tonight at 9 p.m. What a good choice, right? Okay. So this, like, let's say you have other providers with you. I don't want to meet with you myself, Moshe, just because it'd be a dual interest type of thing there. But you'll meet with Barry. And you're going to be getting individual therapy. Of course, you can obviously make whatever you want here. These are just some random things that I put up here. Click here to pay. This is something that I do in my practice. I make people pay when they book their first appointment. You don't have to. But let's say you want to do something like that. So this is a separate payment system. This is not through, well, this is my website, my Baltimore Therapy Center website. You can put all your info about payment stuff here. This payment page where the button is not working. Excellent. Does not go to a Google service. Again, Google does not charge credit cards for you. I have a separate credit card charging system, which we will talk about shortly. Using PayPal and all those other things are fine as well. Generally, not everything, but PayPal for sure is. Okay, so assuming that payment thing worked, I would put in my credit card, which also, actually, unless Marsha, you want to give me your credit card number, I'll take that now. Otherwise, great, I click payment, submit, ta-da. And then form, thanks for being awesome. Way to go, Moshe. If you want to pop open your email, you should have a nice email that's been sent to you. If you want to share your screen, you can pop that up and show it. If not, we can skip that. But you can see that you should have an email now saying you filled it out.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Hang on.
Take forms. Where's my forms? I'm gonna stop sharing for a second while I search for the form.
I don't have an email yet from you.
Oh, that's no good. It should be pretty empty. Check your spam folder just quickly, just in case.
You think my spam knows that this isn't real? Nope, it's not in spam either. I wonder if you put it in right.
It's certainly possible I didn't. Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen where we can.
Oh, you can edit your answers.
Yes, I can. So 1 second, let's take a look. Okay, so back over here. So this is here. I'm in Google Forms. This is my form, and I'm going to go to the responses. These are all 8 fake responses. See, 8 of them are me, and one of them is Moshe. Individually here, let's go number 8. Just the last one that got filled out. Moshe Norman, did I make a mistake? M Norman LCSW@gmail.com.
Yep.
Okay, give it another minute, maybe it'll pop up. Fine. So here's what it looks like, and so here is my the response. I also connects it. You can very easily integrate it in. Oh, that's not good. Okay, fine. I haven't used this in a while, and some things seem to have been deleted or removed. Let's delete our response. That's not going to work. Unlink form. Here we go. Yeah. So this is not stuff you have to do, but see, it's not so hard to do. Create a new spreadsheet. There we go. So now, if I want to see all my people in a spreadsheet, here we go. Right. So you can see all the people who have signed up for you. That's lovely. And now here in my email, my form has a new response. Right. So I don't have to guess. If somebody fills out the new client form, it shows up here. And then I can view the response. And that just takes me to where I was here. So I got an email. So now that I got the email, Moshe, you should have the email, please. I hope. New client form. No,
it didn't come in.
Huh.
Weird.
Okay. Look, tech does work. You know what's going to happen as soon as we hang out, Moshe, you're going to get that. No worries. Okay. So the text of the email, in fact, it might be sent from over here even. No, I can't see it over there. Okay. So the text email says, hi, welcome, thanks for signing up, etc., etc. Please fill out this intake form. And there's a link to the intake form. You can obviously put in the email whatever you want with links and pointers and information about how to find you and whatever. So the link will go to the demo intake form. So Moshe is going to be here. And I wanted to do whatever intake I want. So Moshe, Mono. Do people call you that? That'd be a great nickname for you, Mono. Sex will be, I like to see, I always like to put this as a text field and not a select. That way I don't have to guess what people want to write. You can write whatever goes here, and I have no problem with that. Age, most of you look like you're about, what, 55? Date of birth will be, you were born yesterday. Okay, fine. Address is 333 33 Street, and you'll fill these things out. Some of these are required. This is required. The star, home phone is not required. Leave a message. You can put whatever questions you want here. And you can have, I usually do not have a whole lot of clinical stuff here, but you're welcome to if you want. This you should probably want to make required. I didn't hear. How'd you hear about the Baltimore Therapy Center? That's me. Google search. Right. Okay. Please read the terms to consent treatment at link. So you would put a link here, and you on your website, you'd put all your terms that you want them to read. All the things about HIPAA and confidentiality and yada yada yada. Okay. And with since it's required, they have to check off that they did that. Please read the notice of privacy practices. You put a link up with your information there. We can go more into detail about what goes in these. I'm just showing you sort of how the flow works right now, right? This is the client checking this off. The client checks off they want to be emailed, and they want to use text messaging. This is kind of a HIPAA stuff in terms of communications. Here's my cancellation policy. I accept the cancellation policy. Will you be doing telemental health? Sure. I'm actually putting no just for now, just because it'll save me going to another page. Here is the signature part. One of the drawbacks. It's Mono. One of the drawbacks of Google Forms is there's no way to e-sign it, like with a little doodly doodle. And that is legally speaking okay. This counts, especially when I add this piece here about please check below that you agree that this is going to be an electronic signature. And if you don't, you can go to the paper form. But so I'm not a lawyer by any means. And one of my important mottos is never take legal advice from a social worker. But I've checked into this, and what I've understood is that this is fully legal. The only problem is if you ever have to go to court to somebody who says they didn't sign it, it's going to be harder to prove. I think that's probably not a huge issue in our line of work. If somebody decides not to pay you your fee for one thing, you probably aren't taking them to court. If you were, if you charge like $100,000 per session, you may want to get something more robust. But legally, this should hold. Today's date.
Now, 1 second, Raffi.
Please.
With do you know? I mean, are you talking about in the state of Maryland? Because I know different states have all kinds of different laws. Or did you just look into this?
I believe that it's nationally speaking, a typed name counts as a signature. But again, I do not advise you putting your legal reputation on the line on me, because even though I am smart and correct, it's not a good idea to rely on what other people tell you. You should consult with your legal professional. So a typed signature ought to work, ought to be fine. If you have to go to court with somebody, you may have a harder time with it, but it still counts. That's my understanding of the position. Again, definitely ask your own lawyers. By the way, there are many other form services that work nicely. Again, I have a very extensive blog post on the website laying out the different forms options. I actually I moved away from Google Forms. I started using Jot Forms, which you have to pay for, but it has a lot more functionality that has been helpful to me in different ways. You certainly don't need it. This works just fine. Jot Form does have the digital signature. That's not why I switched to it. It has a lot of things that I use that I like. But this will do the trick, for someone starting up or running solo, just wants to keep costs down. Definitely very viable. So we hit next, right? Just to point out, you could put at the bottom, you could put any clinical questions you want. Have you ever had suicide attempt? Do you, all the things that you might want to ask on your intake form, you can just add them very straightforward here. Next, and okay, there's nothing else that needs to be asked, so submit. And there we go. So now the response has been recorded. Again, I will get an email here. It looks like it'll take us a minute or so, but I know that my intake is right here. And here are all my responses from intakes, right? And so there is the information. Now let's
wait. How did it get onto?
It does it automatically. See, that's the point. The form just populates your spreadsheet right here, and you have a spreadsheet of all your clients with all their intake information, and it's very handy dandy.
So that the for a Google any Google form is going to.
Right. So if you recall up here, we had this is a new client form. There was, where did it go? Responses. You can click here. Before it was view and sheets, it said link to sheets. You just create a sheet, it populates it automatically, and you can find it as needed.
So wait, okay, slow down. Can you?
Sorry, thank you. I forget that like there's a lot of little pieces here that
Yeah,
are.
yeah. I'm wondering if you can take us through the back end of creating a form from the beginning.
Absolutely. Let's do that in one moment. Let's just check out that my email here is, see, intake form has new responses. I'll view the response. Let's say I don't want it in a spreadsheet necessarily. I want to have this in your file. Mostly you're going to have a folder, right? In my drive, I have all my client folders. Here are my clients so far: Jane Smith, John Smith, Will You Be Mine? And now I will make a new folder for Mo No. Okay. So here's where I'll put all your stuff. Let's go back to my intake form. Here is your intake form. I will hit print. I will hit save as PDF. They should all have this. And now it gets a little sticky in terms of my showing it to you. But I have Google Drive installed on my right here on my computer. So it syncs the internet and my computer, so I can do this very quickly, downloading it into that file, and it automatically uploads it. I can't show you that because that's where my actual client information is for my actual private practice. But let's say I don't have my computer linked to the internet there. I can save this to my desktop or wherever you save things. Right, and then from there, I can very easily upload it. Where'd you go? Okay, I lost it already. Intake form, here we go. And now I will go to Mono's drive and I will upload it. I'll upload it like this, and there you go. It pops up right here. And so here's where I'll keep all my files. Now I want to write a note about you and how awesome you are. I open a Google Doc and I'll just start typing away. For me, I just type things in a Google Doc. I don't have a format. You could, there are many ways you can format things, but simply it's like, Mo's awesome, little crazy, and there's my note. Okay, and you date it and whatever it is. I can also I'll paste in my my signature if I want. Just copy and paste it.
Hey, where'd you get that from?
Didn't you want to know? Okay. This is one of these short tricks that I like. When you hit Windows V, or you can have this pop up over here. This is your ongoing clipboard. I have my signature picture saved right here. I also have this very important emoji saved in my clipboard. That's just a little computer trick. We can talk more about those afterwards. So here is my document. This will be progress note 1 or whatever you want to title it so you can find it. And there it is. Well, it'll rename itself in a minute. There you go.
But how did you just get it into the Google, into my folder?
So I'm in your folder right now. Clients Mono, new. Let's go for a second. Google Doc.
So when you put a Google Doc, when you open it up from my folder, it's going to save in my folder.
Correct.
Okay. Can I just say 1 second?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions thus far? If you do, please.
Right. There's a lot here that to me, like, I just runs in my head, but for sure I know there's a lot of stuff you have to sort of pick up on.
So if anybody has a question, click the reactions tab on the bottom of your screen.
There was something I was about to say, which was, if you pay for the higher tiers of Google Workspace, like the $12 or $18 per month, you're going to have templates in the Google Documents. So here, you can actually, there are pre-made templates, but you can make your own. So you can make one that's called My Progress Note, format it however you want, and the format comes up every time, and you can just type in what you need. I don't really have much of a format. I just type a paragraph, so I don't need that, but you could pay more for that handy dandy feature. Okay,
but for let's say legal note purposes, you would want to do, let's say, a SOAP note or something like that, or whatever they call them.
Well, yes. Again, I'm not the legal authority on notes, but you can write a narrative. You can write a paragraph that captures the main ideas, and that's fine too. You don't have to write SOAP. You could if you like that, but this is a little sparse for a note. But it's pretty accurate. It's right, and it's on the way there. Plus, this really helps to get the flavor of what's going on. So you don't need an extensive note. There's other ways. Some people like to use forms for notes. We could talk about that as well. But I do want to pause here and just see if anybody has questions about what we've seen so far.
Okay, let's stop the sharing for a minute, Raffi.
Oh, I can't stop sharing. I'm gonna overshare. No, there we go. Now I'm stopping the sharing.
Okay, any questions so far on this very rapid overview? No, are we good? Okay.
I mean, for the specifics of how to do each and everything, we can certainly go back over the details, but just the idea of how the workflow works, the email goes out, the intake comes in, very straightforward. The other important thing I want to mention is that a lot of this is actually can be automated, right? So this is how I used to do it in the beginning, where I would save it, download it, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, you know what? Now I know why. 1 second. I think as soon as the reason you didn't get the email is because I was thinking in the automated fashion. The way you actually have to do it without automating it, we'll talk about that in a minute, is I'll copy and paste your email address, which I got from here. And then I would go here, and then I use a template down here. Template. Oh, I'm not sharing, am I? Fooey, fooey, fooey. That was silly. Okay, let's try that again. I thought I was automating it, but I'm not. You would go to your email address, your email, compose a new thing, paste in Moshe's email address. I know you're not in my organization. I go to templates down here, and there's my intake email. Right. So now Moshe will get this.
Where did you get templates from? Do that again.
These 3 dots, templates, right? So you'd make your own template here. This is my template. Obviously, your email will look slightly different than this one. This is a little bit, again, sparse on the information. But you would send them a link. You'd say, here's information about me. Anything you want them to know at first glance, here's where it goes, and then you send it out. Right? So that's why you didn't get it. Moshe, now you'll get it, and now you get the link, and then you'll go do the intake. But the point that I was about to make is that sending that out can be automated. The way my system actually works now is as soon as you fill out the form for the new client, right? You sign up, you pay, you select your time, you will get an email from me with all that information. When you click the link, you fill out the intake, then automatically it will create a folder for Moshe Norman, save the PDF in the folder, and share it with whichever provider needs to have that information. That is definitely a little bit more high-end stuff. You need to do that in the back end. I have the very good fortune of having been a computer science major in college. So I was able to do some of the computer programming on the back end myself. That's a service I do offer for people. If you have any familiarity, if you know what needs to be done, you can just call up some guy on Fiverr.com or something and be like, hey, can you do this for me? And even if you don't know what you're doing, you can say, hey, I need this done. Can you do it? They can probably figure it out. But that's not something that comes straight with Google. It's good and it's bad. Like you can customize it to whatever level you want, right? So I have a lot of customization where things happen automatically and things get shared and put whatever. And that's nice. Other places like Simple Practice do that all that kind of stuff for you, but that's at a cost. And if you have a small practice and it's just you, then sending out an email manually probably isn't such a big deal. I did that for a long time. It worked for me until I got to the point where I wanted to go spend some time upgrading, and that's what I did. So that was an important point to make, was the automations. And there's a page on the workspace EHR about automations. That's not as extensive with the information. Questions about any of that, automating, doing, how the system works, or what else we should explore here?
If you have a question, just click the reactions tab and raise your hand. But Raffi, I did want to know if you would show us the back end, how to create the form.
Sure. Okay.
And to make the I think we want to know how to make things required, as well as how to put in, let's say, an external link for credit card payments and things like that.
Good. So here we go. You go to we all know how to get to Gmail. Hopefully you're in Gmail. I'll go these 9 dots. Click on Drive. It takes me to my main drive over here. These are all things I just worked on just now. Let's make a new form. New Google Forms. Untitled form. I don't like purple, frankly. All my things are really in blue. Much better. Untitled form. New intake. Form description. This is your intake. Okay, untitled question. So frankly, Google does a lot of stuff automatically. They figured out you want short answer, right? Plus, what is your problem? You can do, let's do check boxes, right? That means you can choose several.
But you have to slow down for us.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you for slowing me, right? Click over here. There's all kinds of options here for kind of questions, short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, checkbox, drop down, file uploads not work, awesome, date and time, all these things. Okay, but I want checkboxes because I want to know what problems you have. Depression, PTSD, you can go on and on, add other. You want to make it required? Here's required.
So that will make that particular question required.
Correct. Let's make this, what is your problem? Right? If you want, you ask about how to put in a link, insert a link, right? Test the display, Blicky. And let's say it goes to whatever you want. Yeah, you want to put in your like your terms of service, whatever. There you go. And then let's just take a look. This little eyeball here, preview. Let's see what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Answer, click, you will take me to Yahoo, anxiety, depression, PTSD, other stuff, and submit. I'm not gonna do that right now. So making a form is definitely not too tech involved. There's other things you do here. Add a title, a description, right? Maybe I need a new title for a new section. The personal data. Never make it bold. What else can I put here? I can add a video. I can add an image. That's a bad idea. Okay. Add a section here. Next section. So I wouldn't advise this necessarily. I'm just getting unnecessarily complicated. How do I delete this? Delete. I can merge with both. Okay, get rid of it. Go away. Delete. Okay, so building a form, really pretty straightforward. Click a little plus here, pick the one you want, and fill out what you need. Paragraph. Tell me about your mother. Long answer text, right? Okay. What else can I show you here? What else do anybody have questions about? Any of that?
I'm feeling overwhelmed from the whole process, but I think if we played around,
I mean, you're looking at the entire process in, a 30-minute stretch we just did. Showing you any one of these things is not, like learning how to do a form like this is not that difficult. But when you do that in addition to the notes and this and that, it is a lot. It is a lot. There are on my website a whole bunch of videos showing you all this stuff. The first couple are free. This just shows you basically what I showed you now, the workflow demonstration, and you can review this and to see how the workflow goes. This is how you sign up, how you get yourself Google Workspace in the first place, and how to get the BAA. These are all free videos you can watch. And the paid videos tells you like how to do all the stuff that we're doing. Google Voice. Oh yeah, I use Google Voice. It's a phone app. You have an app on your phone, gives you another phone number, and that's my business number is through Google Voice.
Now it's Google Voice HIPAA compliant.
Yes, not for texting, but for calling you can use it. Google Meet is what I use for my telehealth platform.
What about voicemails? Are voicemails compliant?
I believe they are. I can look into that just to be sure afterwards, but I believe using Google Voice and voicemails is fine. It's not a tech thing. It's just that texting is never secure because there's no such thing as a secure SMS text. They just go over an unencrypted network. There are secure messages, but they're not text messages. So anytime you're texting on your phone, that's not secure, not HIPAA compliant.
Is that true do you know if that's true with Apple also?
There's also with Apple. Yeah, Apple texting is also not HIPAA compliant. If you're texting your clients like you're texting a friend, that is not in compliance. There are ways to use messages.
What about WhatsApp?
Definitely not.
I heard that WhatsApp is compliant or encrypted. Not
encrypted, but it's not HIPAA compliant for more complicated reasons than that. It's unfortunate, but the only way to do HIPAA compliant texting is where both you download a specific application for that. WhatsApp is not that. Signal. iPlum has it. I think Hushmail or Hushed has something. I use iPlum. If nobody has ever said, no, Raffi, I don't want to text you, I need secure texting, and they downloaded another app to text me with. That's what you have to do secure texting. The way you get around this is you have people like you saw on my forum. People can request, I would like you, Raffi, to text me, and I know that it's unencrypted, and I choose that anyways. When they request that, then you can text them, but the texting is not encrypted and never will be. What else? Other videos here. So Google Meet, this is my telehealth platform. I don't use Zoom. I use Google Meet. They're basically the same thing, but Google Meet comes with the program for your $6 a month. So no need.
Is Google Meet HIPAA compliant?
Yes, Google Meet is under the Google BAA, and therefore they keep that secure. Here's how to do forms, working with Google Forms, email. The templates that I showed you is how to do that, how I write progress notes, what my billing is like, tech support through Google. Google has a pretty good tech support, by the way. And then you can request more. So these are all videos that people sometimes buy. It's not that much, it's $49. I'm not here necessarily to plug all my products, but hey, here's one of my products. And if you find this helpful, you can totally buy this. I also do the setup for people, setup workspace, where I just do all that stuff for you. To an extent. Anyways, it's definitely, this is an option. I just like this. I like that I'm only paying $6 a month for my EHR. I like that it's flexible, and I like that I have the capacity to customize it as I want. Like I said, I'm actually always adding automations and changes. That I have that advantage because I know a little bit of programming. In theory, you can learn it too. It's not, I mean, there are videos online how to use Google Apps Script. Most therapists probably aren't going to do that, and I get that. But there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of customizability, and I'm really happy with it. And I think that it is a simple and affordable and intuitive way to do what you need to do.
Raffi, I know you said that it's a little complicated to get to the BAA on Google, on Gmail. Is that something you can show us, or is that?
Let's see. The truth is, the easiest way to do that, if you want, I will play the video on my website. I don't remember off the top of my head every button to click, but if you want, we can watch this. How long is this? This is.
You're gonna have to share the sound, I think.
Okay, let's see if I can do that. So this is a 1 minute and 42-second video. Oops, I just pressed the wrong button.
Yeah, no, that's good because now you can share sound.
Share. How do I? Oh, I didn't press the button. Let's do that again. I saw the button, but I missed it. Here we go. Share screen.
We're gonna do another Mondays with Maishi on sharing sound.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Once you have set up your Google Workspace account, you need to get the Business Associate Agreement with Google, BAA, for HIPAA compliance. That's an important agreement you have with any service that you use that handles your PHI. So let's go get that. Let's go up over here to these 9 dots, go to the admin panel. You will be asked for your password likely. I've already put mine in. Let's go to the side here to account and account settings. We're going to scroll down to legal and compliance. I'm going to scroll down to additional terms here. I'm going to click on review and accept the business associate agreement. Yes, if you're a private practice, then you are. Yes, if you're going to be emailing with clients or anything like that, or keeping records and notes here, then you want to click yes. If you're authorized, meaning you're the director, the owner, whatever it is, you click, or the security officer, yes, and then you hit OK. It's going to ask you to read it. That's a great thing to do. I'm a very fast reader, as you can tell. There we go. I read it, and I accept.
What does it say? I was curious.
I click done.
Well, I'm a good reader, but I'm not a good memorizer.
Raffi, so now you said once this is in place,
Here.
now you can legally send emails to somebody else? Or you said it's not encrypted, so it becomes a problem.
Okay, good. Let's get into that question. Again, this is I'll make it a little bit briefer than the whole story, but like this. In order to send emails in a HIPAA compliant fashion, you want them to be encrypted. Gmail, so most email systems today use TLS encryption. So when I send to you in your Gmail account, it's TLS encrypted. If I send to Yahoo or Hotmail, all 95%, if not more, of email systems today use TLS encryption. So when I send it to you, it's encrypted, everything's fine, you're kosher.
But so what does that mean that it's encrypted? Because I know you can click an option on many emails that says encrypt email, and then it comes up as gibberish, or somebody will have to sign in.
Right. Encrypted means that if I'm sending it to you in a little tube that nobody can open up, and if they open it up, it looks like nothing much, right? As opposed to sending it unencrypted, which is like sending an open postcard through the space, and someone can grab it and read it, which you don't want, because if you're talking about someone's mental health, that ought to be private. So if once you send it, it is not guaranteed to be encrypted, in the sense that what I was saying was, most email systems do have encryption. When I send my email from my Gmail to your Gmail, it is encrypted with something called TLS, transport layer security. What that means beyond the scope of our discussion, but it's encrypted. There's a small number of like backwater email systems that don't do TLS. And because you might send to one of those email systems, and then your Gmail would not know to encrypt it or would not be able to encrypt your email, that would be a violation of HIPAA, sort of, to the extent where you would not want to do that.
So when you say, one second, when you're talking about something that's, let's say, not Gmail or Yahoo,
right? If I emailed from my Gmail, from my workspace account to, you know, Bob at bobshandyemail.com, right, where Bob had this really outdated email system that didn't do TLS, it wouldn't be encrypted. And because there's a chance, because you cannot guarantee that 100% of the time your emails will be encrypted, that makes it that you have a problem, even though most of the time emails will be encrypted. In order to avoid that problem, so the options are you use LuxSci, like I said, where you encrypt your email. It's an add-on that encrypts your emails going out. And now, even so, if you don't, what will happen is if you have your backwater email system and don't use that, which does not know how to do TLS, you'll get a message saying, hey, you have a secure message. And then you have to click on that to go to the site to find it, which is annoying, but that's what happens when you use a backwater email system. The other option is, let's say I'm just sending to you, I'm not doing the extra encryption. I can have you request unencrypted communications, which was on my forum. If I still have it open, I can show it to you, but I'm not showing anymore, so forget that. But I can show it if you want. And there's a request form. If someone says, yes, I understand that it's unencrypted, I would like you to email me, even though I accept the risks. It's informed consent. They have a right to request from you unencrypted communications. That is not the same as you saying, would you like to accept unencrypted communication? And they say, yes, I would. That's not a request, and that doesn't count. They have to request it from you. There's a way to word that. I have that in my forums. You can buy also, another little plug, I have forums on my website you can buy that has this language in it and saves you the trouble. If they request unencrypted communications and you send an unencrypted communication, you're fine. They requested it. So as long as you have that request on file, you are now in compliance with HIPAA. So that is the shorter version of how all of email stuff works. Excuse me. Again, if you want the longer story, and where you can weigh all the pros and cons of the different options, so there's a blog post on the Workspace EHR website that talks all about the email stuff you need to know, and you can make your own decision about how to handle that.
Well, any questions on this process?
Okay.
Did y'all follow? What's that?
I think mostly people are just overloaded with all the technical stuff.
Okay, it's definitely a good start. Is there anything else, Raffi, that you wanted to share or show, or does this pretty much cover it?
I would like to stop coughing so I can think about that question. Hang on. The workflow is pretty much as I showed it. And again, I know it was a lot. It was a little bit of a fire hose there. I encourage folks to go to the website and check out the workflow video, which will show it to you again, and you can play it as needed. You know, if you are interested in doing the EHR this way, it's nice, it's simple. I'm happy to offer consultations or help people through it. Or you can just buy the videos which show you step-by-step what to do. And that's pretty straightforward. Also, HIPAA is a longer process. You know, there's a lot to learn about it. If you want an intro video, I have that on my baltimoretherapycenter.com website. If you're interested in finding out more about any of this, I'm happy to help. You can definitely reach out to me through any of my websites.
Raffi, let me ask you a question about progress notes.
Yeah.
Suppose somebody wants to do a proper progress note, you know, SOAP note or something like that. So they could create a Google form, presumably, right? In which that, you know, that has the required information. So we know the required information would be subjective, objective, etc., right? SOAP. And then we also know that you have to have an in time and an out time, right? At beginning of the session and end of the session. So they could create a note that would say in time and out time, right? That would be on the top of the note. Then they can have SOAP or something like that. And then is there a way to create a form or a doc that has ongoing, you know, this, in other words, if you wanted to sort of create a stationery where the top of each page begins with that header, let's call it, of in time and that format of SOAP. Is there a way to do that? Would you be able to show us how to do that? Are you following what I'm saying?
So that's what I briefly mentioned. Let me share and we can
Let's share again.
I briefly mentioned that you can do this with a form. So let's go to Drive here. Let's create a form. And you would want to put here. Oh, it's purple again. Geez, people. So open up. Okay. What was that? So fine. And now here you want to put, you can put in time. There you go, time. And add a new one, out time. What other information? Client name.
Wait, you clicked on that thing to get time on that little clock? How'd you get?
Actually, all I did was I created a new question, and when you write out time, Google figures out that you want a time. But you could click it. You could click that multiple. You could just make it a time like that. But actually, what I need now is a date. But they'll figure that out for me. Look at that. There you go. Figure it out.
Cool.
Name I want
Subjective.
Sure, right. So subjective.
Oh, are you going to want the name of the client up there?
Whatever you want. Subjective. Paragraph, right? Objective. Fine, objective, whatever, and then assess and plan. Okay, whatever else you want to add there. It thinks that it doesn't realize that this one is a paragraph, so we'll make it paragraph. This is thinks a short answer. You can do short answer paragraphs, just a question of how much space it gives you to answer. Let's make them all paragraphs. Okay, and now let's fill it out. I really don't like the purple. Okay, in time is 1 a.m. Moshe, you and I like to talk at 1 a.m. Out time is 2 a.m. Whoops. Date was yesterday. Name, oops, I forgot to switch this. See that? That was a mistake. I'll fix that, right? Let's say your name is just 3 a.m. for now.
I think Elon Musk names his kids 3 a.m. or something.
Right. Okay, so here's my subjective. Mo is great. Objective. Mo has a beard.
I hope I don't get sued for defamation on that one.
Assessment. Not sure what's with the beard. Plan by Razor. Okay. Submit. Great. Response has been submitted.
Nope. So where did it go?
It went into the responses. Right. So you could just keep it here, really. Let's say I can just have your progress notes be in a spreadsheet, or if you want to print them out like a document, you would go to individual. Here's the first one. Print it, save it as a PDF, and there you go. Again, you could automate that if you wanted, and you could set it up that as soon as you submitted it, it's saved it as a PDF in your folder.
Cool.
But otherwise, sort of programming, you just print it and save it to the right place. So that's definitely a way you can do notes with forms like that. Some people even recommend in your notes, you instead of having a long answer, you would do multiple choice. So checkboxes. Depressed, happy, whatever. And you can and what are my interventions? Where do the plan? So you get like you can make this checkboxes also. I've definitely heard of people doing this. I don't do this myself, but plans with CBT, DBT, by Razor, whatever your interventions are. And let's say you use the same 6 interventions with all your clients. That's all you do. So you have them in, you just check off what you did. You don't have to write it out every time. And that's a great time-saving mechanism.
Okay, what about treatment plans? I guess it would be the same kind of form.
If you have a standard treatment plan you want, you just set it up here, however, whatever questions you want, and fill it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there reminders that you can put in? Like, suppose you want to update treatment plans every 90 days or every 120 days or whatever it is, right? Is there some kind of reminder that you could put on a form that will ding in your inbox or something, remind you?
Not built in. The closest thing you can do, you could program that fairly straightforward to have it pop up every 120 days. But the closest thing that you could do is, let's say you just got a new client. This is the intake form. You can snooze this with this button here. Pick a date and time, right? Pick it for 1, 2, 3 months away, and that will pop up at 3 months saying, "Oh, remember this guy did an intake 3 months ago," and that's your reminder to revisit whatever you need to do. So that's the only thing that's native to Google that I think might work for that. You could also make yourself a calendar I can't show you my calendar there.
Mhm.
But you could go to the calendar here. Where to go? I can't see calendar here. The calendar would come up. Here is my workspace calendar. You can make reminders here. Again, as manual, you would have to set that up. It wouldn't do it automatically. But the snooze button option is pretty good, and then coding it in is also a pretty robust option. But again, you have to get someone to do that for you or learn how.
How cool is that?
Very cool. That's the answer to your question. Very cool.
Okay. Any questions? We're gonna call it a night soon, but I just want to know if anybody has any questions about this process or actually.
I apologize for totally overwhelming everybody. It's like drinking from a fire hose. It seems like a lot. If you're interested, check out the video that walks you through it. It's definitely not unmanageable, even for the not so tech savvy. If you are non-tech savvy to the point where you're not sure how to send an email, this may not be for you. But if you can use Gmail and Google, straightforward, then you can totally do this.
So I'm curious to hear from people whether you found this to be helpful, and it's something that you may consider. If you made it this long on the call, then you're probably finding some interest in it, or I bore you and put you to sleep. But is there anyone who has any comments about how they found this to be helpful, or questions about how this can be more helpful? Put it in the chat box or raise your hand.
I think everyone's just being nice about how boring it was. They don't want to say it out loud, so that's cool too.
Or my position is that we want to play with it. Esther Teitelbaum says is very helpful, so thanks. But I think we want to play with it. Like, we really need to go into the forums and see how to streamline everything. Because what to you seems to be a whole language. I think to some people like us, is
right.
Like learning a
play
language.
around with it to get used to it. The good news is, if you're that kind of person, it's not that hard to figure out the basics of getting this done. And if you're not that kind of person, then I set things up for people where you don't have to do that. And it's all done for you. You just have to know how to click to open a new document to write a note.
And you have to know how to email you.
Yes, you have. If you don't know how to email, do not use the system.
Okay, so Raffi, I just want to thank you for coming on tonight and doing this presentation for us so that we get a little bit of an idea of how to be cheap, lazy, and anxious, and some of the background behind how to use Google and Google Forms and G Suite in order to make our streamline and make our private practices fairly simple. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for discussing this. And the email will go out hopefully tomorrow with a review on this. It'll be on YouTube for those of you who want to watch. And thank you very much.
If anyone has any questions or needs some help with it, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to be of service.